Hey everyone, how's it going? Happy day after Christmas. Um, as you can tell by the title of the video, I'm getting rid of the Mercedes. Well, I'll explain why I'm getting rid of it in a minute, but a little bit of a story. Normally I wouldn't make a video quite like this, but since I've had it for so long, it was my first car, I feel like I kind of have to. So, our story of this car began in, I believe, in 1989. My grandpa bought this car up from the newspaper. He bought it from the original owners, and the original owners drove it from 1967 to 1977. Then they parked it in the barn until my grandpa bought it. And the entire time they were driving it was serviced at the dealership. I have the records somewhere that prove that. And it's all original, as it ticked over according to the records. So, anyways, my grandpa liked the car, but the car just didn't like him. So, my dad bought it. He bought it in 1992, and he drove for 9 years, and he raked up 200,000 miles on it. A lot of miles for such an old car, but anyways, when he stopped driving it, the odometer said 34, but I bet you it's 234, if my math's right. And May 28th was the day he got his next car. It was a 1982 Mercedes 240 diesel, which is just as much of a money pit as this one was. And he was originally just going to sell it. He was going to try and see if he could sell it to a high school student or someone looking for a first car, but he noticed that I was always out there washing it, and I was always out there doing little, I was out there just tinkering with it. The first thing I ever fixed on a car was the steering box on this thing. I bought it off a 220 SC. I forget the year, it might have been a 66. And yeah, it took me a couple hours, but nothing basic toolbox can fix. And my dad used to also drive me to the bus stop in it, which is about a mile down the hill. Yeah, I really liked that. He used to let me turn the key while he pumped the gas and did the clutch and all that, but one day it just wouldn't start when we went to go to the bus stop. So it just sat for maybe a year or two, year and a half, something like that. And I was out there tinkering around with it, thinking, oh, we should get this thing running again. And I cleaned the points, or I came to the conclusion it has no spark, so I figured it has to be something in the distributor or the coil. Those are the only two things that make spark on a carbureted car with no computer. So I cleaned up the points, and after a lot of farting from the stale gas, it started up, and yeah. And then it ran for a few days, and then I was like, you know what? We already bought our set points. I'm going to install the brand new points. The car didn't run for two years after that. And then, since my dad's kind of an asshole and likes to do stuff behind my back, I had another car at the time too. It was a 1989 Isuzu Trooper. It was my mom's old car, and I inherited that car for the same reason I inherited this one. But since my dad's a fucking asshole and he likes to do stuff behind my back, he gave that to one of his girlfriends at his work. And yeah, as a one owner car, we bought it brand new, and he just totally did that to me. So eventually I was able to get him Eventually I got him to take this car to a shop and get it running, and that was that. Eventually I was able to get him to replace that car. He bought me the Isuzu Trooper we have here now, although he's trying to do the same thing again. I have the title this time, so he can't do that. Yeah, now it's in 2006, and then in late 2006, December 2006, I got my license. I was like, oh cool. So we fixed the brakes on the Mercedes, and I drove that to school. Even though I had a nice Jeep Wrangler, I just preferred to drive the old car. Probably because I had it more or longer and it was older. And I drove that, but the longer I drove it, the worse that bad engine got. The engine was bad when I got it. It burned a lot of oil. I mean, you fill it up with gas and put 2 quarts of oil in it. So it, it definitely, the engine was on its way out. And that was with 2050, so it wasn't, you know. And I drove that for a couple months until the car had its next problem. The brakes again. The master cylinder. First it was master cylinder. The pedal just would slowly go to the floor. Still drivable, but not really that safe. But next problem was the brake pads went out, and since I was young and dumb, I just didn't change them. I just kept driving. I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool with the grinding sound. Well, this is what you call a totally shot brake rotor. It has paper fin. And I drove it so long that it actually popped the seal in the brake caliper. So I didn't drive that, and that was pretty much the end of me driving it. Actually, just once I did get around to fixing the brakes, then it was the carburetors. I replaced those carburetors, but for whatever reason, those ones went south within a few months too. And after that, or about the same time those went bad, was about the same time that the clutch, master cylinder and slave cylinder went bad. So right now you can't even pump up, it's just not drivable. You can't put it into any of the gears. Trying to think what I want to say next. And also, when I was still driving to school, it used to be I could drive it for a while. I had to clean up that rear back spark plug about maybe once a month or so, but after I started driving it more and putting more miles on it, it became like a weekly thing, and then another spark plug, the very first spark plug, started to foul itself out too with oil. So, and then I was still idling it from time to time. After the clutch and the carburetor problems, the car still ran. It was just really hard to start those carburetors, even to use starting fluid. Just the jets or something are messed up inside. But I would still idle it, and that would, well, after a while it started to overheat just by idling it. I think the head gasket or the head cracked again. This car has blown one head gasket and cracked one head, so it heats up way too fast. So something the hell's going wrong with the engine, and I don't really want to invest time in that motor. I mean, not unless I get another second-hand one or a rebuilt one, which I can only imagine what that will cost. The clutch master cylinder and the slave cylinder for the clutch are like $200. So, and once again, my dad went behind my back, and he was going to gift this car away too. He was going to gift it to some girlfriend at his work, a different girlfriend, and he was going to. She said he was going to give it to her to get rid of it, and then she said, "Oh, I cannot take that car unless it has a junk title." So my dad took the title down. He could do this because it was in his name. I wanted to keep the title in his name because it was an older title. 92 is better than like 2001. And he got a junk title for it. So even if I ever did fix everything again, it will have it'll be just totally screwed. I mean, it'll always have a salvage title. There's no way to reverse that. So, and it has various other odds and ends it needs, and just parts from Mercedes are way too expensive. So right now I'm just going to keep a few parts off of it and pretty much get rid of the rest. I'm keeping the headlights, as you can probably see. I'm also keeping the grill. I'll either sell that or hang it on my wall or something. Oh yeah, and the bumper. Really recently, within the last year, I was trying to get a seized trailer hitch receiver out of my Subaru. Long story, but I had to get it out that day. And so I was like, oh, the bumper on the 67 Mercedes, that's a really good anchor. So I tied a rope up to it, or a chain, or whatever I used, and I just backed up and I floored it forward, and it just stopped the car a few times, but the third time I pulled it, it definitely ripped off the bumper, broke the bracket, and the bumper's all bent out of shape. And if I had a decent bumper with brackets, it's going to be kind of expensive. They're all going to be rusting out by now. So anyways, I kept all the hubcaps only because the 13-inch hubcaps are actually worth some money. They're worth, I don't know the exact price, but I know they're worth a lot more than the 14-inch hubcaps because there's less of them around. And keeping the tail lights because they're the Euro spec tail lights with the orange turn signals, and I know I can probably get $100 a piece from them. And I'm keeping the steering wheel just for kicks and giggles. And I was originally going to leave the instrument cluster, but since it's just going to a junkyard anyway, so I'm going to pull that out today. So, and there's also the common problem with these cars with rust. I kind of want to say it has holes in the trunk, but I don't really remember. I want to say they're in like the spare tire well. And where the firewall meets the wiring harness, where the wiring harness goes through, it's starting to rust out there and get all rotten. And also, and through the driver's side wheel well, like on the unibody, it's also starting to rot out. So, and also, right now, as you can kind of see, I kind of want to build a carport. I was thinking about buying a wooden one originally, but I was going to buy a canvas one originally, but after doing some research, I found out they're real kind of flimsy in the wind, and they're always like blowing over. So I'd rather go an extra step and just build a wooden one. And I can't really do that with the Mercedes there. Plus, look at all these cars I have at the time, too. All the way backed up to the driveway. I'll go all around the backyard. So anyways, there's kind of a little bit of a back history and reasons I'm getting rid of it. Just, I liked it. I mean, that's every car I've ever ridden in, that car's had the smoothest ride. Just like you're riding on a cloud. Just absolutely amazing. Oh, that looks kind of cool. Oh, it's alive. I thought it was a half decomposed, like, roly-poly. It looked all weird and different colored, but so when I poked it, it moved, so anyways, that's that. Ashes to ashes and rust to rust.